Welcome back to Opinion Journal. I'm Mary Kissel. President Barack Obama and Iran's leader Hassan Rouhani are going to be speaking at the United Nations Tuesday, and there's been a lot of talk of a possible nuclear deal in the works. I've got editorial page editor Paul Gigot with me here to talk about it. Paul, some of it is rumor, but we also have some confirmation that there have been letters exchanged between these two leaders.
No, this is the beginning, I think, of the negotiation, but it's real. There's no question about it. I think already John Kerry, Secretary of State, is going to meet with the foreign minister of Iran, and there have been some indications from the White House, at least they haven't denied it, that Obama could meet with Rouhani, which would be extraordinary, actually.
Why is there such a push for direct talks? The administration has had backdoor, at least an open channel with Tehran now for quite some time. Why the urgency?
Well, I think the president is in his second term, and he would like to get a deal of some kind. Obviously, he doesn't want to have a military strike. Nobody does, but the Iranian nuclear program has been continuing, and he would like to do something about that. And then for the Iranians, that's the interesting question. Now, after 5 years of rebuffing President Obama's open hand, as he put it in the inaugural, why now? And I think it has something, in my view, to do with Syria.
Well, does it also have something to do with sanctions? Is it that the economic sanctions that we've had in place against Iran now for several years are actually really biting and really affecting that economy, and so they need to come to the table to talk?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Are they biting? Yes, they're biting. Do they need to come to the table now because of them? Not clear. I mean, I think that they've shown in the past that they're more than able to let their people endure great suffering if they can keep on their policy path. These are the rulers as opposed to the public. So I don't know. I mean, I think that they do have an impact, the sanctions do. They would like to see them eased, particularly the banking, financial sanctions, which make it difficult for them to transact business around the world. But I think they could get around that if they wanted to.
You think it has more to do with Syria, and that they saw the president basically back away from the red line, and they thought, oh, aha, yeah, we can put one over on him now.
Well, I mean, you put it in maybe a little different way than I would, but I mean, I think that they see the fact that, look, Assad bought essentially a reprieve, right, from military action. He's now in a diplomatic process with the Americans, which will last for some time, maybe a year or two. And I think the mullahs think, you know what, we might be able to get him in the president, that same kind of process where we can get some sanctions lifted up front, and that based on the promise of disarmament. And that process could take some time. And in the meantime, if they really are serious, well, they get the sanctions lifted. But if they're not, they get the sanctions lifted, and they can continue with their nuclear program.
So there's no downside here for Tehran. But in terms of the United States, just by talking, aren't we sending a signal to allies like Israel that, you know what, guys, you might need to start thinking about living in the idea of a nuclear Iranian world?
Well, not talking per se. I mean, it depends on what kind of talk. I mean, I wouldn't, if I were. I think it would be extraordinary for President Obama to meet with the new president of Iran, for example, here. You want to save that when something is actually done, because you're giving him legitimacy. You're saying that all those elections were great. He is the real chief of state. An American president has to be very cautious in lending that legitimacy to rulers, particularly rulers of dictatorships. But that doesn't mean you can't have negotiations with the governments. I just think you have to be very cautious, and you have to be firm in your demands of what an end game is like. What do you want to see? What do we need to see to be able to have any chance before we'll consider lifting sanctions?
Firm in our demands on the end game with Iran. We're going to follow that closely.